Flat owners will not have to pay to remove dangerous cladding from lower height buildings under new government plans. Apparently, leaseholders in buildings of between 11 and 18.5 metres will no longer be expected to take out personal loans to cover the cost of the work. Instead, the government will try to secure up to £4 billion from developers towards the costs. It had already promised to pay to remove cladding in taller buildings. Liam Spender is a campaigner with End Our Cladding Scandal. It's an organisation representing people still living with potentially flammable cladding. Liam, hi there, good morning.
Good morning.
I read this and I was thinking, great, but then I got to a piece where it said they were trying to convince developers to pay money over, on a voluntary basis. I mean, that's going to be easy.
Well, exactly. My reaction was the same as yours, as it's welcome the government is at last trying to resolve the problem, but whether this is the solution that will take us to the end of the issue remains to be seen. I think it's a case of we need to see the detail in the small print.
Yes. Developers have largely insisted that their developments were built to regulations and that they are therefore not liable. So what have you read, if anything, that convinces you that people who are stuck in this unbelievable predicament, nothing to do with them whatsoever, are going to be able to get out of it?
I think a lot is riding on what the government means when it says we need to take a proportionate approach. So how we actually decide whether these buildings need to undergo these very expensive and intrusive works. And until we know what that means, then I'm afraid we don't know if we have a solution here. And just on the developers' point, I mean, of course they would say, wouldn't they, that they built everything according to spec, but that statement's very difficult to square with the state of some of these buildings where they're missing things that should have been included by design and were not included. That is very clearly the developer's responsibility, and they should account for that.
So what we're not seeing here is an immediate compulsion to pay over money from developers. But look, the government perhaps don't want to find the billions required entirely themselves. The developers don't want to find the billions. They've got lawyers, their companies. Meantime, can you try and describe the predicament that people find themselves in still in high-rise buildings?
Well, people are trapped, and they're looking at paying, in many cases, hundreds of pounds a month for insurance and waking watch to try and protect them because these buildings are deemed to be fire risks. It's a situation you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy, and so it's about time someone was held to account for it.
As well as people feeling potentially very unsafe in buildings where they don't know whether the cladding is flammable or not, whether the system put in is encouraging fire or not. As well as that the financial pressure must be absolutely enormous. I wouldn't be at all surprised to hear that there is a rise in terrible mental health conditions. I mean, I would be doing my nut over this.
Yes, and I think that's right. I think there's been a lot of survey work done by Will Martin at the UK Cladding Action Group that pointed out the really serious, appalling mental health toll of all of this.
Well, I hope something happens. It appears that there is some movement, and only time will tell. Liam Spender, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. You're a campaigner with End Our Cladding Scandal. It's an organisation representing people still living with potentially flammable cladding.